What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you're here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, very special guest, first time on the program, Andre Burkley. We're here to talk about Pantheon Issue 1, now live on Kickstarter. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, man. So, necessarily, all right. I generally ask this question. Of course, this is your first Kickstarter project. What made you decide to do this?
Okay, so I'm 38 years old. I've always had a big imagination ever since I was a kid. So drawing has always been an affinity of mine, and just creating wildly. So I've been drawing for years, and then I just stopped. And I'm active military, so like my military life and deployment got in the way. So I kind of stopped and slowed down early on. And then my wife found a bunch of my old drawings, and she was like, "Well, why aren't you, pursuing this?" I was like, I don't know. I'm just not doing it. And the very next day, my wife showed up with, easels, mechanical pencils, all kinds of paper. As she came in with all the material that I needed. She's like, "Nah." She's like, "You got a gift. You definitely need to pursue this. Go ahead." And then I want to say like a year later, I created Pantheon. It took me about 3 years to make my entire comic universe out of 230 characters. And here we are now.
Mm. See, that's what's happening, man. You actually had your wife had to put the best foot forward to push you up a little bit and be like, hey,
Yeah.
you might want to put this back on your front burner. Now, how long you been active duty?
100%.
How long you been active duty military?
Ooh, all together, because I'm also prior Navy. Then I got out the Navy and served in the Army, and I got out the Army in 2014 because I was a single parent. I had full custody of my oldest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I met my now wife, got married after we had been together for a while, and I got back in 2019.
Okay.
So all together, looking at about 12 to 13 and a half years.
That's what's up. I was active duty military from 99 to 03, Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, I had a time. Right now. I'm currently in Fort Moore, Georgia, what used to be old Fort Benning, and
Oh, okay. Yep.
still having the time. I'm still enjoying it. Like, and I love the weather in Georgia anyway, so I ain't going back up above the Mason-Dixon unless I got
I totally understand. So to get into this, now you talked about how basically this came from the idea of maybe around like a year or so to put this script together, correct?
yes.
Yeah. Now, was it more so that you like were more so interested in doing a superhero comic? Was it something that you were always striving to like basically like put together? And what was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I actually, so originally I started off with a manga project. So I have a few manga themed projects that I also was working on, Chaos Divinity, Red Calamity, stuff like that. And I put them on Instagram and whatnot, and they did get traction. But then when I start posting Western style heroes, they blew up.
Yeah.
Like they just went. I went from one character, went from like one like. So I went to sleep and woke up and he had 1,300. So I'm like,
Mm,
so let me go ahead and keep going with this. So then I kept going, and then it just turned into what it is now. Don't get me wrong, it's not massive, but it is
yeah.
definitely bigger from a year or two ago. And as far as inspiration, the direct inspiration for Pantheon is kind of funny because people they don't see it until I say it. He-Man,
Okay.
Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond, and
Hmm.
Miles Morales.
Got you. See,
I
I
made
was,
Pantheon when that He-Man series that was on Netflix.
oh
When
yeah.
that series came out, the first season, that's what I made Pantheon literally the day after that season ended.
It's funny because his name is Ashton Adams and Prince Adam is He-Man. Is that the reason behind that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is actually the reason behind it.
Ah,
And the reason why he's biracial is because of Miles Morales. And then the reason why he doesn't have an attitude, but he's pretty firm as a young man, which will remind a lot of fans of Terry.
word, word. Now, and it's funny because I'm looking at the cover right now, and the first thing that like pops out is the colors in the costume, and that reminds me of Invincible.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to put him in blue is because I hate to say it, but I hate the stigma or the constant showcasing of brown or black characters, and they're either subjugated to like an African themed color, which is fine, but it's a constant. So
Right.
like Icon suit, or they are in solid black, or their powers are only electricity, or like or it's a carbon copy of another previous hero. So like, don't get me wrong, I love John Stewart as Green Lantern,
Hmm.
but I hate the fact that he's a Green Lantern. Like
Hmm.
he should have been something else. And so when I decided to make the Omni Comics universe, all of my black and brown characters, they'll have resemblances to other characters. Like one of my, if you would just say he's my Aquaman of my universe, he's
Right.
Polynesian. So instead of being from Atlantis, he's from the city of Lemuria or Mu. And instead of having a trident, he has a fish hook that's in the shape of a trident, like Maui. Like stuff like that. Like I like to keep it as diverse as possible. This way, somebody can see themselves in everything that I do.
Got you. Now, to get into this, now the look of the character, because we're talking about it, was this pretty much all based on because you already described yourself as an artist? Was it yours? Was it your final project, or was it your artist, Samuel Marquez, or was it a combination of both?
Oh no! So I actually every character that I've made, I actually draw, and then I get them commissioned by an artist.
Got you.
So and I don't skip out on the drawing. Only like one of the main reasons why I get them commissioned is because I don't have the means to color them the way that I would like them to be colored.
Okay.
So I send out the illustration or the sketch or whatever I want them to do, and like I'll make it detailed enough to where they know exactly what's happening. So with the exact outfit that Pantheon is in and the way he looks, oh yeah, I came up with that whole thing.
Nice. Okay. So if you want to basically like put it that way, you did most of the pencils. And when you sent this in to basically get commissioned, it was rebranded with the inks and the colors.
Yes, and the panels. So the panels are the only thing that I've drawn is the character illustrations themselves.
Hmm.
So everything that from the crown of the head to the tip of the toes of each character I designed, and even on like on my Instagram page, you can see all of my characters and how they actually look, and then I send those off to whichever artist I'm using at the time. They go ahead and they bring in the life into their thing.
Mm. Now, for somebody that's basically doing their first Kickstarter, you got some heavyweights out there, some veterans and everything like that. So the fact that you have Devin Scott a part of your project was kind of like a leaps and bounds thing because I was like, I've seen Devin on tons of projects. And the fact that,
Yeah,
this your first time at it, how did that introduction happen?
So I had reached out to Wiseacre Comics, and I really liked their titles. And as I was reading them, I see this Devin name keep. I was actually just on the phone with him yesterday for like 30 minutes. I see this Devin name keep popping up, and then I started seeing like the Magni storyline, and then it was so many other accolades with this guy's name attached to it. So I reached out to find him, and it was there from that. Like he wrote the entire script for Pantheon, and he's also been a big help when it comes to running the Kickstarter. Like he's actually uh, pretty much running the Kickstarter for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like he great guy, man. He's been a real big help through this whole process. And he's one of the things that I love about him is the fact that he gives the free chicken willingly.
Hmm.
Like he doesn't hold anything back. If you got a question for him, it pretty much doesn't even matter what time of day it is. If he doesn't answer you, he will get back to you, and he always has great insight on everything that's going on.
Mm. Yeah, it was good to see him a part of the project, man. That's actually a good find. Hey, he's actually been a part of a lot of some real good campaigns. Now
Yeah.
to get into this particular story, now I know you said that Devin, of course, basically created that entire script. How much input and guidance into this script have you interjected in here? Because of course, with the title name, of course, of Pantheon, Ashton Adams, of course, you told me you already got that from He-Man with the last name Adams from Prince Adam. But the entire storyline itself, the introduction of Vale, the 12 deities, how did all this basically formulate?
Well, actually, I wrote all of that.
Okay.
So the entire, so every character that I've made, I create their bio, I create their storyline, I create their interconnecting storylines.
Okay.
My biggest issue when it comes to writing is pacing. And I
I
told
got it.
Devin this yesterday. So he gave me some tips and pointers on how to pace my things correctly and how to do it according to a page count.
Yep.
So what it was I wrote everything out and I sent it to Devin.
Mm.
And him being as good as he is at
Yeah,
it,
he's a good
it only
editor.
took him like, yeah, it only took him like a week to break everything down, place it where it needed to be, make it make sense, and fill in any necessary gaps. So as much as it's my story for this first issue, it's his too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the fillers and other stuff like that, and little nuances that I didn't pick up on. He was able to interject it and ease right in and make it just flow into a perfect string.
So now let's talk about Ashton a bit because the fact that he is he resembles how a Prince Adam would be, how a Terry McGinnis would be. He's coming from a dynamic family. His father Eric, his mother Isis, and he's pretty much strong built. And he's learning lessons every day in between every page. And how this
Mm-hmm.
basically gets brought along is that and almost like the intersectionality between like Vale coming down to Earth and looking for a protector, and then the storyline of Ashton and what he's basically having occurred to him on an everyday basis. How that kind of collided, how those two stories started to merge was fascinating because Ashton, of course, goes through this everyday life as a regular teenage kid. He's got bullies. His dad is there for a kind of like a more not demeaning guidance, but of course he's always there to aid him and assist him in what is happening to him on an everyday because he's as many fathers do, they'll let you know exactly what you might be going through. I've also went through myself. It's only the ways that got me tougher through it. So describe Ashton like basically how you wanted to create him.
Okay, so I'm a father myself. I have 4 boys and 6 girls,
Okay.
and every day is like a live cartoon. So
And yeah, I
dealing with
understand.
them, I always want and a 150-pound American bulldog.
Mm,
But dealing with them, I am always trying to. As I told my wife this earlier, because even in our marriage, I'm always trying to reinvent myself. And even though I may have my shortcomings and things may fall, like they may be lackluster in certain instances, I always try to at least be there as much as possible. So, and then my father was present in my life. I was raised in a dual home. My father passed away when I was 17. So, like there's small little aspects of that in his story as well. So, like I said, I always try to, I won't say be the voice of reason because again, they do have to live their own lives, but I want to let them know like, hey, I've tried A, B, C, D, E. I've tried a lot of these, so I'm letting you know these ones don't work. So you might have to try this avenue. But of course, kids being kids, no, I'm gonna try A, Dad. And then when it fails, it's like, I don't want to tell you I told you so, but I kind of tried to give you that guidance.
right.
So that's kind of his dynamic with his father. Like his father does try to be the voice of reason, and tries to protect him, but not so much to where he hinders him.
Mm. Now, who would you say represents you? Is there a little bit of you in Ashton, or is there a little bit of you in Eric, or both?
Uh, both. A little bit of me in both, definitely. Um, for the most part, I've been kind of like where Ashton is. I've dealt with certain traumas and whatnot, like he does throughout his storyline. And then as far as Eric goes, I am a father, so I'm looking at everything eyes wide open, trying to make sure that my kids are as well taken care of and as loved as possible, but I know I'm making mistakes along the way.
Right. Now Ashton himself, he's going through a little bit of trials and tribulations. I don't want to give too much away because necessarily his life takes a turn. And it's almost just that absence that sort of happens to him three-quarters of the way into the book, where it's like, it's kind of do or die from here on out. I'm not getting the guidance that I used to get, but
Mm-hmm.
necessarily I still have to deal with things on my own. And he's always had to deal with bullies before and everything like that until one pivotal day where he sees, and I'll say this one particular spoiler that I read from the script, his bully is getting bullied.
Yeah,
And almost when he interjects himself into that conflict, he still doesn't get anything out of it.
not nothing. He absolutely gets shamed right afterwards. Like, yeah, I wanted that. I wanted that to be a thing because one of the nailing focuses in his storyline is do the right thing regardless of who's in front of you. So no matter if you're alone or you're in front of a crowd, no matter if you have power, have money, whatever the case may be, something his parents installed in him is do what's right because it's right, and that's the only reason you need.
Mm,
So that's the reason why he ends up. He has a habit of putting himself in the way of certain positions that if he would have just stayed out of it, nothing would ever transpire. But
word. Now let's talk about the character, the entity itself of Vale. Now, she was basically created almost in the same context under an arm of conflict as
yeah,
within the Omniverse, within these 12 deities, an intergalactic struggle started to happen. Now, I guess now am I saying this correctly that all 12 deities are sort of from the same arm? They're all brothers and sisters.
yes,
And then one of
they
them,
are what's called prime beings. So
mm,
they are the only ones of their. So he who is, which is God, he's the omnipotent supreme being. He who is created the pillars of reality, or they're called the cosmic oligarchy. And the oligarchy is consistent of the overseer, retribution, redemption, chaos, order, death, oniric, etc.
right.
Well, directly underneath those beings are the 12 overgods or the governing deities. And those beings are responsible for creating the entire multiverse across all timelines, everything. So their job is to create, watch it flourish, and then destroy it. That's it. So what ended up happening was, like you said, a conflict breaks out, and one of them gets tired of that mundane existence of just watching, building, watching, destroy, repeat. He gets sick of that.
Hmm. And who we're talking about is am I saying it correctly? Vexaris?
Yes, all of the 12 deities have the how angels have the suffix "l." All the 12 deities have a suffix as "ars."
Mm. Now, for the most part, are each 12 of these deities responsible for something particular in the universe?
Yes and no. So they're both creating and destructing deities, but is Vex more akin to war, destruction, and whatnot? Yes. So they do have manifested. They have manifested certain aspects about them, but they're not as what's what I'm looking for dimensional as say like a god of war or a god of peace. They do have those virtues in them,
Yeah.
but one of them, like one of Vex's brothers, is he created all of martial combat across the universe.
Mm.
So anything, any alien race or whatever the case may be that knows a fighting style originated from him. So if you want to say he is the god of fighting or combat.
Got you. Now, inside of inside of all this tragedy that's about to happen amongst these 12 deities, they decide as a last plan of action to consume all of their energy and create a descendant being, meaning Vale. It's almost like kind of like how Captain Planet is basically summoned with their rings. You know what I'm saying? So the introduction of Veil and how it's almost like their escape plot of how they get off planet because they now have to basically concoct a protector out there in order to, I guess, rid themselves of what their brother has done. How does Vale play a part in this? You don't see her as somebody being destructive. You see her as somebody that's almost a an observer, so you will, maybe like a watcher character.
Yeah, that's absolutely what she is. She is known as the attendant to the gods. So her primary purpose is to find a host, a worthy host for the orb of Theon. And no matter how long it takes, well, she doesn't get to choose where the orb goes. It's kind of like a Green Lantern ring. That orb chooses to go to Earth,
Okay.
but it remains dormant until it wants to wake up. So her only goal is to make sure that whoever gets it doesn't become corrupt. And then once they do get it, she's supposed to spoon feed them information because she can't have them. Like I said, each of the 12 are, they control the building blocks of reality. Like they can shape universes, extinguish stars, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So they're made up of the energy that creates all things. So she can't have a person who the orb might have chosen, and then 20 years down the line, something happens, and now this guy or this girl is messed up, and here they are trying to nuke the planet. So her job is to make sure that none of that happens. So she has to tell, like Ashton doesn't know all of what he can do, and I don't know if you saw the video I sent you, but he has quite a lengthy amount of abilities,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know he can do 90% of that stuff.
Mm.
Like he doesn't even know he can fly by the time like a few issues come up. Like he doesn't know he can do any of those things.
Mhm.
So like yeah, like her job is to make sure that whoever is the bearer of the orb stays thinking that they have a 9 mil instead of realizing that they have a nuclear missile.
Got you. Now, when the orb first arrives at Earth, it's like it seems like it's the Jurassic era, and she's
Yeah,
literally like laying dormant in between that time. She's had to witness wars happen on this planet
yeah.
concurrently
So when
before she even
yeah,
meets Ashton.
yeah, because the orb basically wants to be on Earth. It knows that who it's going to choose is there, is going to be there, but it's not there yet. So it lays dormant. So when it first lands, the orb is actually what wipes out the dinosaur.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
and then yeah, when it smacks the ground, it is what actually destroys everything. So uh, one thing, it's not so much as a spoiler because I'm sure people have seen it on my Kickstarter. But one thing is, in my universe, I don't call metahumans mutants or metahumans. I call them abnormals. Well, the orb, as it lay dormant in the soil for millions of years, it radiated the planet. So as life evolved, human beings evolved with abilities.
Mm.
So the orb is actually the reason why abnormals exist.
Right, because
Uh,
the particular scene with his father, the abnormals that basically ascended in order to confront him in in this sequence are pretty much what you described as abnormals,
yeah.
and this is how they came to be. So there's almost like humans with better scaled abilities also on the planet, the same as Ashton during this time.
Yes, he's not the first superhero. He's just the first. He's my flagship character.
Hmm.
So by the time his like in his issue, it hasn't. You'll see it later on down the line. But there's already heroes. There's a Justice League team. They're called the Protectors. 10 members. Then you have the Renegades and the Rebels. Like there's all different types of teams. There's heroes. There's villains. So he's getting thrusted into this world that all he really ever saw was on social media or comic books that he's read.
Right.
So he's getting plucked and put right in it, and it causes a lot of conflict as well with other people.
Yeah. So this world literally already had enhanced human beings.
Yes.
Now, for the most part, when Vale introduces herself to him, and she's already been a part of this world for God knows how many hundreds of years because she's been just laying dormant in there. The introduction of the abnormals that are already on this planet, Vale is already knowledgeable of them.
Yes, because so she is. Think of her as an OnStar or a computer
Yeah,
or like a universal encyclopedia. So anything that is under the 12 governing, she knows. So that pretty much means all things. Um, Even when it comes to like the cosmology, the angels, demons, everything else like that. If it's under them, she knows about it. So yeah, she knows that the Earth transformed that way. And the reason why like Ashton didn't get the orb upon birth is because he had to do things in his life to prove the orb correct. So
mm,
that's the reason why he doesn't get it as soon as he's born.
got you. And like for the most part, the reason that he's basically built up as the chosen protector is more so because not only is Vex a powerful god, but he's somebody that can manipulate his influence on somebody. She wanted somebody that was pure.
Yes, 100%. And that's the reason. Like the orb is comprised of six of the primordial deities, and that's the reason why the name Pantheon. But Vex is also six of them because the ones that the situation that happened,
Yeah.
they got assimilated by him.
Uh,
So I don't know if you saw one of the images of him, but originally Vex looks kind of light skinned, black hair,
yep.
wears the blue armor and whatnot. But once he starts to transform into Imperius, that's when he starts to get all hulkish looking and red with the long white hair. So yeah, and he got tricked. He got played. He got played pretty hard. Like he thought that he was going to be able to. He can track his kin. He
Mhm.
cannot track Vale. So that's
Gotcha.
the reason why they sent Vale away. So he has no idea what's going on. Like he's just mad as all hell.
Yeah, because the cliffhanger in the first issue when it comes to his arrival, he may not, of course, he's not too knowledgeable of where Vale is, but the thing is, he is annihilating planets as he's like searching.
Yeah, he is wiping out whole star systems to try to find this. Because what he wants is if he can get his hands on the orb. So the way that the cosmology works is he who is directly under him is the overseer. The overseer is the right hand of God. So he has all the authority across the entire omniverse that God allows him to have. If Vex can get the orb, that will put him on par with the overseer. So now he has nobody else to worry about.
Right.
And he really, really wants that orb. He is, besides the overseer himself, which is a large cosmic character, but besides him, Vex is the only person that can actually remove the orb from Ashton.
Hmm. Is there a reason why?
So
Yeah, is there a reason why the overseer has never confronted Vex about what has been done to the 12 deities?
yeah, because balance has to be kept. So the number kind of can change, but in the same breath, it can't be one. So with that being said, is the number can condense. So it can go from 12 to 2, but it can't be just one. So that's the reason why the overseer hasn't stepped in because Pantheon exists.
Mm,
He just doesn't know what he is or what he can do or what he's even for. But he, like the way it's written out thus far, if I would have had him meet Vex anytime before when I actually do have him meet him,
yeah,
he would have got completely whitewashed. Like he would have got mocked. There's
got
nothing he would have been able to do about it. And it wouldn't have been close. Like it would have been something comically brutal, like Doomsday fighting Krillin or something. Like it would have been bad. Like
right. Now, in the creation of the series, the first issue, of course, is a 32-page superhero action adventure comic book. Uh, I'm guessing pretty much as far as the script is being written out, how many issues do you feel like this entire story is going to be laid into?
um, honestly, so for the timeline that I have is meant to be uh 32 issues,
Okay, okay,
and each issue or chapter that you would want to say is broken down into 3 books.
yeah,
So it's, but in all actuality, like I said, I created an entire universe of interconnecting storylines and characters. So it really won't ever. It's kind of like a DC or Marvel thing. It probably won't actually end. Like it. Now the goal is for it to eventually, but I really don't have a reason to do it.
Yeah,
Especially with a character like Pantheon, because being that he is a prime being, he's the only one. Ashton Adams is the only Ashton Adams that exists in the multiverse. The minute he got the orb,
got you.
so there'll never be a time where he sees a future him, because if he was to go to the future, that him is him
Hmm.
from the present. So there'll never be more than one Ashton on any story ever. Um, he he's meant to be. Now he can be killed, so like he can be beat to death. Just that takes a little bit. It takes
Yeah.
a fairly strong character to do so. But other than that, yeah, as far as like timelines and whatnot, and there is a story plot where a lot of his friends do go into the future, and when they go into the future to try to find him, they actually find the him that they just left, and he has no idea what's going on because he's oblivious to it.
Right.
He just so yeah, there's no multiversal storylines where there's more than one him.
Now his family, being as how he is the chosen protector, is there any particular lineage towards his mother and father, Eric and Isis, that are more so precluding as to why he's the protector?
So yes and no. So not nothing as far as like any lineage down the line that finds out that he was like an Ichigo or something. He was has this other ability or this other bloodline.
Yeah.
No, it's actually just the installment of the values that they put in him. So they tried, and like his mom is a monster. His mom and dad are both monsters. Like they tried their best to raise him as humble and respectful and honorable as possible, and they never let him forget that,
Hmm.
like at all. Like especially his mom. Like his mom be on his coattails all the time. And then
Perfect.
on top of that, like I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that, especially her being a black woman from Cameroon. So like she doesn't think that. Let me word this correctly. She feels that very similar to his father. If you can do something for somebody, you have an obligation to do it.
Hmm.
If somebody's down and out or worse than you have an obligation to help them. But in the same breath, Ashton's good at a lot of stuff. Being a military brat, he's pretty, before he gets his powers, he's proficient in judo and boxing and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, primarily because of his dad.
Right.
Um, well, she feels that being good at something isn't enough. She doesn't care about him having a natural talent. He needs to work at it. He needs to be better. He needs to do this. And she tells him that all the time, like, if you want to exceed, not succeed, if you want to exceed, then you need to work harder than what you're working. Your natural talent is great, but there's somebody side by side with you that doesn't have that will outwork you.
Right.
So that's kind of how that's her stance on him. So that's basically it. Like they raised him to a certain standard, and because he tries to keep that standard, and he does have some inner confliction sometimes,
Yeah.
but for the most part, 90% of the time, he keeps that standard about himself.
Mm. Now you got about 14 days. I'm going to say, yeah, 14, 15 days left in the campaign. So you got like
Yeah.
a couple weeks left. And pretty much once all is said and done, and hopefully this, the campaign crosses this finish line. If anybody wanted to get their hands on it, might have missed out on the Kickstarter campaign itself. How can they more than likely reach out to you to try and get themselves a copy?
Oh, it would definitely be through either Instagram or Facebook. Omni Comics on Instagram and Omni Comics on Facebook. Shoot me a message, and I definitely get it to them.
Okay. So you basically are you looking to like basically like put this on like a Shopify on a direct market and basically try to like get this out yourself?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So my entire label, like I said, Pantheon is just the first one. I got a couple one shots that I'm working on, and then a couple other superheroes that I want to push out there. I even have a couple storylines that are made for just the villains themselves.
Mm.
So like I want to be able to tell the stories from everybody's point of view. This way, it's something new for everybody. Like this ain't your I'm not saying that they're completely gritty or
Mhm.
just completely uplifting, but this ain't your normal take on some of these heroes. Like some of them get down. Like some of them get down.
With it. All right. Yeah.
So
Well, Andre, I appreciate you doing this with me. Of course, couple weeks left in the campaign. I'm looking forward to seeing how this story starts to build and how it responds going into like the latter issues once those start to get created. So I'm looking forward to more of this. I appreciate you joining me.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for myself, James Grandmaster Facts Boys, Andre Burkley here with Omni Comics. Pantheon issue 1 is on Kickstarter right now for the next 2 weeks. So go out there and get that. Of course, it's the first week of Black History Month, everybody. So of course, it's the first interview for Black History Month. So everybody, keep your eyes in tune for that. Uh, thank you again. Hopefully, everybody gets their chance out there to see your book.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. I'm glad I got to get this out. Like I love it. This is a passion. I like the process just as much as I like the finished product.
That's what's happening, man. That's what we here for. All right. So for everybody out here at the Facts Project, we are out.